أحب الله جل علاه ومن حبي له أخشى حياتي كلها لله.
Reasonable.
As people become more and more obsessed with materialism,
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له وما يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. We begin by praising Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we take refuge with Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil consequence of our evil actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can misguide, but whomsoever Allah leaves to go astray, no one can guide. And I testify that Allah alone is worthy of worship and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the servant of Allah and His final messenger. I've been asked to speak today about the topic of a peaceful society. How can we move towards and how can we create a more peaceful society? So first of all, my brothers and my sisters in Islam, I would like to think about very briefly this topic of peace itself. And I would like to put forward the proposition that peace is much more to do with how you feel. It's something that is much more to do with an inner dimension within each individual human being than it has to do with an external reality. And it's very counterintuitive. Most of us imagine that, or most of us, when we talk about peace, and when we hear this word peace, most of the time we are thinking about a country or a place where there is no war. This is what we think about. Peace means the absence of war. Peace is where people are not fighting each other. And that's what we imagine and that's what we think about being a peaceful society. And it's very interesting that one of the claims of liberal democracy and one of the reasons they boast that liberal democracy is a success and one of the evidences they put forward for the success of liberal democracy is that it has produced peace. Liberal democracies don't fight each other. This is one of their claims. Of course, it hasn't been very long in historical terms to actually see whether this claim is valid or not. Because it's not long ago that the Europeans had the most, well, not only the Europeans, but I suppose we, of course, will have to include the Japanese as well. But largely the Europeans and North Americans were involved in almost definitely the most horrific and bloody conflict in human history, which was the Second World War. It's interesting that while Muslims are accused of being violent and of being terrorists, and we are painted in this image as if our religion is a violent religion, in modern times, the most horrific conflicts human beings have seen, perhaps in the whole of human history, are those that have been fought by and large, Europeans. The First and the Second World Wars. So it's not a long time since the Second World War happened. It's 60-something years ago now, since the Second World War ended. My father, who fought in the Second World War, is still alive. But however, this is their claim. They say liberal democracies don't go to war. One of the things that liberal democracy has produced is peace. But one of the things that I often think is, okay, well, even if that's true, what does it mean? How relevant is that? How important is it? I live in a part of the United Kingdom. I live in a town, a city. That town is called, or that city rather, is called Croydon. Croydon really is just a part, it's a separate city technically, but it's part of the bigger, huge city most of you will know as London. In my part of town, very close to where I live, in 2 weeks, 14 children, that's one a day. And a child here is defined as to be anyone under 16 years old. 14 children were either shot or stabbed in a 2-week period. 14. That's just one part of town. If we look at the murder rates, if we look at the statistics in these liberal democracies of one human being murdering another, some of these incidents are to do with gang violence, some of them are to do with robbery and theft, some to do with jealousy, and some seem to be almost inexplicable. Like this man in England, recently we heard about on the news, who just went on the rampage and just started shooting people because no one really knows why. His tax bill was too big. I mean, you know, we laugh, but because it is absurd. But that's the only explanation they can seem to find. But whatever it was, I can't describe that as a state of peace. Can you describe that as a peaceful society? Can you describe it as a peaceful society when in 2 weeks 14 children shoot and stab each other? Can you describe it as a peaceful society when a man goes on a rampage and starts randomly shooting people? When children in the United States of America, similarly, for simply no understandable reason, pick up weapons and start shooting their fellow school students. Can you call that a peaceful society? Can you call it a peaceful society where a woman is raped every 3 minutes? Can you call that a peaceful society? I don't think that this would fit the definition of peace. If you just say peace is the absence of war, and that one country is not at war with another, okay, maybe. But in terms of the actual society, many people are living in fear. They might as well be at war. They might as well be at war. Because the fear, the trepidation, the worry, the concern that people have in these societies for themselves, for their wives, for their daughters, for their children, is hardly reflective of peace. And what this points to is that in reality we have to look at peace fundamentally and primarily as being an inner condition. It's something that takes place inside ourselves. And if we as individuals do not feel at peace, if our hearts are not at rest, if our minds are not satisfied, and we are not people of understanding, and we are not fulfilled internally, then we're not at peace. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, it is this inner dimension that is so fundamental. And this is what really makes the difference between our society and their societies. You know, mashallah, just before I came on, Sheikh Bilal, Dr. Bilal Phillips was talking about shaitan and the eternal tree and how he made this so tempting to Adam. And I can't help except think about how this history, I don't want to call it a story, it's history, it's something that really happened. It's part of our history as human beings. About how that history of what happened to our father and our mother, Adam and Hawa, and how shaitan tempted them, is so true about our condition today. Because really, what is it that we want? What is it that you want, my brothers and sisters? Do you really, is the most important thing to you really, is it money? Do you really think that money is going to make you happy? Do you really think that material well-being is the key to true happiness? Do you really think that is what is going to bring peace in your lives? You know, my brothers and sisters, there are people who they work the whole year very hard. They work the whole year very hard just to be able to come and spend 1 week in your country. Yeah, think about that. They work so hard. They're ready to spend thousands of pounds, thousands of dollars, thousands of yen, just to spend a few days of their life in your country. And you live here every day. This is your home. What is it those people are looking for, brothers and sisters? What is it they are searching for? What is it they're looking for when they spend that money and they spend that time and they come here? What do you think it is that they are looking for? Is it just a nice room to be looked after, to be cared for? No, it's something much deeper they are searching for. Something much more fundamental. I really think what they're looking for is peace. A moment of peace. A moment of serenity. A moment of quiet. A time when they can relax and get away from the worries and the problems and the chaos and yes, even the dangers of the world in which they live. And where do they choose to come? They choose to come here, to a Muslim land. They choose to come here, to this place. Then why do I get the feeling that somehow, it's very strange, someone is trying to convince you that you have to try and be like those people. You have to try and be like those people. Does that really make any logical sense? Those people spend their money to come here to relax, and someone is trying to persuade you that you have to be like them. I mean, it reminds me of a story of this man. He comes to a fisherman. He says, you know what? You're doing a very nice job here, fishing and catching all these fish. I think, you know what you need to do is you need to borrow some money so you can build and you can have another boat and then you can catch more fish. So he goes, why? He says, well, when you catch more fish, you can have more money and then you can employ someone else and you can buy another boat and catch even more fish. He said, why do I want to do that? He said, well, then you can build up a fleet of fishing boats and then you can make lots of money. And when you've worked hard for 50 years, you can retire and just enjoy your life with your children without doing anything. He said, but I'm doing that already. That's what I'm doing right now. Do you get the point? I mean, he wasn't convinced. This fisherman was wise. Why do I need to get another boat and get more money? And why? I do a little bit of fishing, I get by, I spend time with my family, I have a nice life, I'm fine. Why do I need to run after this and run after that and get my dream job? Why? Why is it, brothers? Why is it, sisters? You feel that you have to achieve that. Please explain to me. Tell me why. What do you think you're going to get from it? Well, I'll tell you what you'll get from it. You'll get high blood pressure. You'll get heart disease. You'll get stress. You'll get tired. You'll get problems in your family because you're so busy working. You're so busy trying to earn money. You won't spend time with your kids. Maybe both you and your wife are so busy out there trying to earn money, trying to make your life more comfortable. Maybe you'll even hand your kids over to someone else to look after them. And who? You know who? It's called Mr. TV. Yeah. He's the babysitter now. She's the babysitter. You leave your kids in the hands of the TV because you're so busy. You don't have time to talk to them. And you know what? You come back from work, you're so exhausted, you just want to sit down in front of the TV yourself. And so you're working and you're earning and this is your life. And you don't have time for your kids. The husband doesn't have time for his wife. The wife doesn't have time for her husband. No one has time for anybody. What do you think happens to those kids? What do you think happens to those kids? You see, you just need to look to what is happening in those societies that think that this is the way to live. I'll tell you what happens. The kids, children need love. Children need love. They need love and they need guidance and they need discipline. And the best person to give that love and guidance and discipline to the children, number one is the mother. It's the mother. But the mother is not there. The mother is working. She's making money so she can buy him some plastic toys that break after half an hour anyway. He doesn't need the plastic toys. No, that's not what he wants. That's not what she wants, you think? Yeah, because you know what? You've left them in front of the TV when you're out working. You left them in front of the TV and the TV was going, well, the kids playing around with plastic toys and having so much fun. And you heard my talk the other day. Oh yeah, plastic, oh, I want that. Mummy, 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 can you get me this? Mama, mama, please, 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 please. Daddy, please, 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 please. They teach, actually the TV teaches the kids how to nag their parents until they get what they want. Please, please, just one mobile phone and one Nintendo, one PS2, please, 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 until eventually they give in. Costs a lot of money, have to work harder for that. The kid's happy for what? A few weeks, Then they get bored. Then they want the next thing. A new game, please, please, mom, please, please, dad, please, please. But you know, we feel guilty, right? We're not at home. We're not spending time with the kids. So we give them these things. We're caught up, you see. We think this is what? Happiness? No. Because in the countries where the kids, this is what they're doing, what's happening to those kids? You know, they don't find the love and the discipline. They don't find the love and the discipline that they need from their parents. So you know what they do? They go out and they join gangs. They join other groups of kids. And those gangs give them the appearance. It represents the family for them, the family they don't have. There's their group. You know, my backup. That's what they call it. It's my backup. It's my boys. They're with me. No one's going to mess with me now. It's a substitute family. But you know, before you join the gang, before they let you in, you have to do something. You have to prove that you're worth it. And so what do you have to do? Well, sometimes you have to steal something. Sometimes you have to do something a bit crazy. But you know, in some places, you know what they do? They give you a gun and they make you go and kill someone. Just anybody sometimes. Just a random person, shoot them. That's how you prove, stab them. That's how you prove you can join our gang. Is that what you call a peaceful society? Is that what you want? Is that what you want? That's the reality, brothers and sisters. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in my part of town. That's why 14 kids are getting stabbed and shot in 2 weeks. That's one a day. And by the way, I heard it's happening right here in your city. That's what I've heard. I heard stabbings have gone up through the roof. And of course, with that comes drugs. Taking drugs, drug addiction, dealing drugs, all comes together. It's part of the package. Where's your peaceful society? Where's your peace? All for what? What are you doing it all for? Why do you want to live like those people who are so miserable they have to come here to run away from their places to come here for a week? Why do you want to be like that? Why? I don't understand. Do you understand? Did you think about it even? Did you even as a society take a step back and say, wait a minute, where are we going? What is the purpose of this? What are we going to achieve? What benefit really is there in this for us? Did you ask those questions? Did you think about those issues? I'm asking you to think now. I'm asking you to think and to open your eyes and to see what is going on. Why is it we think we just have to follow? Yes, I won't deny. I will not deny. I'm not going to stand here and say the West has achieved nothing. Of course they've achieved things. They've achieved highly significant things in terms of science, in terms of technology. They've advanced in many different fields. But I would still say, for what? To achieve what? What has it brought them? Something you don't have? Is that what it is? Something that Islam has not given us? Is that what it is? No, my brothers and sisters. Peace is something inside your heart. That's true peace. Let me ask you. You have two people. One man. He is very rich. He has a yacht. Maybe his yacht even is parked outside or whatever, moored there somewhere over there. He has a big yacht. Very rich. Billions of dollars. But he's miserable. He's miserable. You know what? His money causes him more misery than it does happiness. He's worried about if he's going to lose it. When's he going to lose it? How much is he going to lose? Who's going to take it? Who's going to rob him? Who's going to steal him? He's worried constantly. Believe me, read the biographies of rich families, the Onassis family, Howard Hughes, the Rockefellers. Read the lives of these super rich people. It's not the lives of happiness. It's not the lives of people at peace. No, you find that these people often have so many problems. If I said to you, you can be as rich as them, but you have to have their problems as well, believe me, you would say, keep your money and keep your problems. You'd say it. If I made the offer like that, you can have the money, but you have to have this problem and that problem, and your daughter will have to be a heroin addict, and she will get pregnant when she's 19, and your son is going to shoot himself when he's 27, and whatever. And you will have heart disease, and you will have this worry, and you will say, keep your money, keep it. I don't want the money, I don't want the problems. But why don't we think like that about everything else? Look at these people. If wealth equals happiness, why aren't they the most happy people? If wealth equals happy, why aren't they the happiest? But they're not. Because money doesn't make you happy. Not on its own, it doesn't. Happiness is something in... So let me ask you, you have this man who has lots of money and he's miserable. And you have another one. He has nothing. In fact, he lives in the streets. He doesn't even have a home. But he's really happy. He's content. He's truly at peace and he's truly happy. So which one is the rich one? Which of the two is really rich? Which one of the two has really succeeded? It's so obvious. The one who has happiness inside is the one who is truly rich. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. That true wealth is contentment. True wealth is contentment. So my brothers and sisters, how do we have a truly peaceful society? How can we achieve that? It's not difficult. Alhamdulillah, it's not difficult. Especially for us. Because we have, as Sheikh Dr. Bilal has already explained, why we need religion. He's mentioned many of the benefits of religion. And not only religion in general, no, the religion, the true religion. So how practically, you see now, how practically do we achieve that? What steps do we need to take? How do we go about acquiring this true wealth which is contentment? Well, every disease has a cure. And if our disease is worldliness, meaning if our disease is that we have become infected by the love of this world and the things of this world, and that has overtaken us to the extent that we have given it more importance than our religion. Because Islam does not say you can't enjoy that which is halal. Yes, you can enjoy that which is halal and thank Allah and praise Allah, and inshallah Allah will give you more. If it is halal and it makes you thank Allah and it makes you praise Allah, it is good. But no, what is the issue when we are not any more satisfied to keep within the boundaries of what is halal? No, what if we have to now start going into the haram? We have to start disobeying Allah. That's an indication that you have become sick. Sick as an individual and sick as a society. You have become infected with a disease. And the disease is the love of the world and the love of the things of this world. So what's the cure? You know what's the cure, my brothers and sisters? The cure is to remember death. The cure is to remember the akhirah. The cure is to remind yourself how short your life is on this earth. How long are you here, my brothers and sisters? How long? Most of us, the average age of this ummah will be 60 to 65. That's the average age. We may last a bit longer, but you know what? However long your life is, even if you live to 90 or 100, the life is short. On the day of judgment, on the day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will recreate you and He will recreate me, our flesh and our bones, and we will be naked, and we will be barefoot, and we will be uncircumcised, and the sun will be brought close, and we will sweat, not like we're sweating today. No, we will sweat so much that some people will be to their ankles in sweat, some people to their knees in sweat, some people to their waists in sweat, and some people, they will be bridled with sweat. That is the day of judgment. That is the day of fear and terror and anguish. That is a day when a man will run from his wife, from his mother, from his children, from his relatives. We will run from each other. Mankind will be running like they are in a drunken riot. And it is a day when even the prophets, even the messengers, they will say, Nafsi, nafsi, myself, myself. Because the waiting on the day of judgment will be unbearable. We will wait in the sun, sweating for the judgment to begin. And people will go to the prophets, first to Adam. Oh Adam, you are the father of mankind. You are the first of the human beings. Ask your Lord to begin the judgment. And he will say, Nafsi, nafsi, myself. Allah is angry today as He never was before and never will be again. I'm afraid for myself. I remember I ate from the tree. Why don't you go and ask Nuh? He was the first of God's messengers. So they will go and they will ask Nuh, and you know what he will say? Nafsi, nafsi, myself. I remember when I asked Allah about my son. You know the story? You know when Nuh asked Allah, his son is drowning, and Nuh says, oh Allah, you promised to save my family. He remembers that. He remembers this one after 950 years of da'wah, 950 years calling the people to La ilaha illallah. All that effort, all that struggling, all that patience, but the only thing he's remembering now is when he asked Allah about his son, and Allah said, he's not your son. And he remembers that. Nafsi, myself. Go and ask Ibrahim. He's the Khalil. The Khalil of Allah means the close friend of Allah. But Ibrahim will say, Nafsi, nafsi, myself. Allah is angry today as He never was before and never will be again. I remember the 3 lies. They're not even lies. They were not even lies, but he remembers the 3 things he said. Asked the big one about the idol, when he smashed the idols. When he said to the king, he said to his wife, say that I'm your brother. He is brother in Islam, he's the brother. And I always forget the 3rd one. But he said he remembers these 3 things. They were not even lies. They were not even lies. But nafsi, nafsi. Myself, myself. Musa, he will remember the man he killed. And Isa will say, go to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Only then. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he will go and he will prostrate before the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he will wait there as long as Allah wills him, and Allah will teach him a dua to make. And the Prophet will make sallallahu alayhi wasallam this dua. And this is when the judgment will begin. The judgment, brothers. The judgment, sisters. That is a day. One day of 50,000 years. Can you imagine one day like 50,000 years? What is our life? No wonder the people, they will say when they are asked, How was your life? What was your life? They will say, it was like a day or a part of a day. Our whole life will seem like a day or a part of a day. Have you ever heard that expression? His life flashed before his eyes. It's like that. The whole life will seem like that. Just a moment. And that's what we have this moment, brothers. We have this moment, sisters. This is the moment that we have. This moment, this life that we have is going to decide what is going to happen to us forever on the day of judgment. The day that is promised, the day that is sure, the day that is inevitable, and it must come to pass. And what will happen on that day, my brothers and sisters? Our deeds will be weighed. Our deeds. The good deeds and the evil deeds. You will not be asked about your degree. You'll not be asked about your certificates. How much did you earn? What sort of car did you drive? How did your house look? What sort of mobile phone did you have? Did you have designer labels or not? You will be asked about those things, yes. You will be asked, were you grateful? Did you use them in the way that is halal? But they're not going to save you. They're not going to benefit you. It's your deeds. Did you worship Allah? Did you believe in Allah? Did you worship Him alone? Did you give charity? Did you help the poor and the weak and the needy? Were you good to your wives? Did you teach your children Islam? Did you bring them up upon La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah with understanding? This is what we will be asked about. These are the questions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put before us. These are the things that will be weighed in our scales of deeds, the good deeds and the evil deeds, my brothers and sisters. That is what Allah is going to weigh up for us. So let us think right now. What have you sent forward? What have you put forward for that day? What have you saved for that day? What have you put forward for that day? Because you know, what you spend in charity, what you give from your time and your money in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make His word the highest, to help the poor and the weak and the needy and the oppressed, that money you spend, you will have saved it. You will find it when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But whatever you spend on this dunya, you will leave it behind. And it will be passed on to others. You will not take it with you to your grave. It will not go with you when you are buried in the ground. It will all be left behind. The only thing that goes with you into that grave, my brothers and my sisters, are your deeds. What have you prepared for that day? We say we want Jannah. We say we want Jannah. Of course, how could you not want paradise? A place of eternal bliss. No hatred, no envy, no greed, no backbiting, no slandering, no jealousy. Peace, true peace. What a beautiful abode. To dwell therein forever. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. We will never die. What a beautiful place. And to see the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most beautiful thing. To be able to see the face of Allah. We say we want paradise, but what have we prepared for it? What have we prepared? What provision have we made? We say, yes, we believe in the hellfire. We don't want to go to hell. Then why do we do the deeds of the people of hellfire? Why do we not avoid those things that lead us to destruction? Do we really believe in it? Do we really know the reality of this fire? where Allah will burn the skin and recreate the skin and burn the skin so the people can taste its punishment. Where the least punishment in hellfire is when a man will wear 2 sandals of fire and his brain will boil and he will think that he has the worst punishment although he has the least. That is the reality, brothers. That is the reality, sisters. This life is a passing moment. So why are we fooled? Why are we taken by this world? We are all going to die, and it will be very soon. In real terms, it will be soon. So what have we prepared? Individually and collectively. And this is the reality we have to remind ourselves of every day. Every day. Every day, brothers and sisters. You should get up in the morning. You should get up in the morning. And you should think to yourself, maybe it's quite possible I will not reach the end of the day. And when you go to bed at night, you should think, maybe it's possible I would not wake up in the morning. That is how you have to think of death. That's how you have to remind yourself constantly of death. Because the wise person is the one who remembers death frequently. That's the wise person. You know what wisdom is? You know what wisdom is? Wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to make the right decision. That's wisdom. Wisdom, the wise man, the wise woman, is the one who makes the right decision. If you think of death constantly, you will come to the right decision. Are you miserable, brothers? Are you sad, sisters? Are you unhappy? Do you have worries in your life? I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. Let me tell you something. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever worries about the things of this world, Allah does not care which valley of worry He leaves that person in. Whoever worries about the things of this world, this dunya, Allah doesn't care. He'll just leave them and worries. They're valleys. Valleys of worry. Worry after worry. Valleys of worry. He doesn't care. He will leave them. But whoever makes all their worries, all their concerns into one concern, then Allah will take care of all of their worries and all their concerns. What is that one concern? What is that one worry? Of course it means, what will Allah say to me on the Day of Judgment? Ask yourself tonight, before you open your mouth, before you speak to your wife, to your children, to your mother, to your father, before you go to work tomorrow, ask yourself, what will Allah say to me on the Day of Judgment about what I am doing, about how I am behaving, about what I am saying? Make that your concern. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about your economy. Don't worry. Worry about what Allah will say to you on the Day of Judgment. This is what you need to concern yourself with. This is what you need to make your priority. And believe me, if everyone, imagine everyone behave like that. Imagine every Muslim behave like that. Do you think if we behave like that, that we would backbite each other? That we would say bad things about each other behind their backs? Making fun of each other, mocking each other? Do you think we would behave like that if we thought about the impact of our words on the Day of Judgment? Do you think if we thought about the bridge that is thinner than a hair and sharper than a sword, that is stretched over the hellfire? And how big is the hellfire? You know how huge the hellfire is? The hellfire has 70,000 bridles. 70,000 bridles. You know, like 70,000 ropes. And on each rope is 70,000 angels. It took a stone that was dropped from the top of the hellfire 70 years to reach the bottom. That's hellfire. That's how big it is. And we will have to cross it. I want you to do tomorrow morning? Tomorrow morning, I want you, or sometime tomorrow, or in the next few days, go to one of the taller buildings in this city, right? And I want you to look across the ocean. And imagine it's not an ocean of water. I want you to imagine that it's an ocean of fire. An ocean of fire. And from where you are standing, there is a string, as thin as a hair and sharp as a sword, stretched over that fire, and you have to cross it. And what is going to take you across that? You could be the most brilliant acrobat. It's not going to help you. You know what's going to carry you across? Your deeds. Yeah, your salah. Your deeds. Your prayer, your fasting, your charity. You're enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. That is what is going to carry you across. Some people will go like the blinking of an eye. So they will be so quick. They will just blink and they will be across. Others, they will go like the wind, or like lightning, or like the wind, or like fast horses. Others will go walking, others will go crawling, and others will fall in. That's just from the believers. Because those people who have rejected faith have already been thrown into the fire before this. That is the reality, my brothers and sisters. Have you prepared? Have you prepared for that? How much time and energy and effort do you spend studying, reading books, preparing for your job, going to business college, studying hotel management, studying tourism management, studying economics, studying, medicine even? 90% of which, maybe even more of what you study, you will probably never use in your life. How much time do you spend studying the deen of Allah? How much time do you spend studying the things that will help you cross that bridge? How much time do you spend learning what is halal and what is haram? Learning the deeds that are most beloved to Allah and the deeds that are most hated to Allah. How much time do you spend learning your ibadah, so that when you pray and when you fast and when you make hajj, and the time you spend with your wife and your children and your husband and your parents, you do it in a way that is pleasing to Allah? How much time do you spend? Subhanallah. You can make an assessment right now. You can make an assessment, and then you can see how seriously you take this matter. You can really see how seriously you believe and consider this reality of the Day of Judgment. And that is the fact. And if we thought about these things, brothers, and we thought about these things, sisters, how will we treat our wives? There's a beautiful story. There's so many beautiful things I would like to mention. But I heard in the Maldives anyway, men generally don't treat their women badly. I don't know if that's true or not. But I've been to many countries where they do, sadly. But whether it is or not, brothers, I doubt most of us treat our wives the way the Prophet ﷺ treated his wives. I doubt it. Because I've heard that one of the problems you have in the Maldives is divorce. Is that true? But there's an indication there. I was just reading, and you may have gathered I'm very much interested in psychology, and there are many, many amazing studies that are being done at the moment about how the human mind works, how we human beings behave. A lot of our behavior, by the way, is entirely irrational. You think we're irrational? No. Some of our behavior is so irrational, it doesn't make any logical sense. And that's why the study of psychology is so important, and that's why I believe following the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so. He created our minds, He created our societies, He knows what is best for us. So in a study about what type of people, what are the things that help a couple stay together? One of the things they found was that often in arguments, in the disputes that often happen in marriages, and I'm, here's some little simple, things that we can apply, simple things to make our life happier and more peaceful. And I truly believe the family is where it starts. So couples that tend to stay together are ones that, they tend to sort their problems out. But how does that happen? It often happens, and you know what, reading this, I realized this is exactly what happens in my house. The woman presents a problem to the man. I mean, I must admit, I don't hardly ever remember me presenting a problem to my wife. Mostly she comes to me and she presents a problem. Here it is. This is the problem. If the man behaves in a way that is very dismissive to the woman, he doesn't listen to her, he doesn't let her say what she has to say, and even if she says something, he doesn't take it into account, then this is the cause for many problems. When the man listens to the woman and he gives her the feeling that she has some contribution in terms of power and authority, I'm not saying he hands over authority to her, but he gives her the impression that what she says is important and that she has a say in what happens. These are the couples that tend to stay together. And you know what? When I look at the Prophet ﷺ, I found that's exactly how we found the Prophet ﷺ was. In fact, there's one incident which, it makes me laugh, but it's so beautiful. Can you imagine the Prophet ﷺ and his wife Aisha are having an argument? I mean, we would probably think, who can argue with Rasulullah ﷺ? But it shows he was a human being, he was a man, he was human. His wives used to argue with him. And this argument between the Prophet ﷺ and Aisha reached such a hot point that they called Abu Bakr to arbitrate between them. So the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Bakr is being brought to sort out this argument between Aisha and the Prophet ﷺ. And when Abu Bakr comes, then the Prophet says, so who's going to talk first? Is it going to be me or you? She says, you talk, but don't say anything except the truth. Yeah? When Abu Bakr hears this, he slaps Aisha so hard that she runs and hides behind the Prophet ﷺ. And he says, Abu Bakr says, how dare you say that the Prophet would say anything except the truth? And you know what the Prophet says? He says, oh Abu Bakr, I didn't ask you to come here to do that, and I didn't expect you to behave like that. Subhanallah. Look at, isn't it amazing that Aisha's arguing with the Prophet and she goes to hide behind him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I mean, it's this, you get this view, you get this thing. Look how the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was. He would listen to his wives, he would take their advice. There's another story I love, which is the story, it's about Umar ibn al-Khattab. And a man, he is so fed up of his wife nagging, going on. He said, I'm fed up. I'm going to complain to Amir al-Mu'mineen. So he goes off to complain to Umar. Then when he sees Umar sitting outside his house. And from inside Umar's house, he hears his wife, like this, yeah? So he stops in his tracks, he turns around, and he thinks to himself, and he turns around and he leaves. And Umar sees this, he says, man, come, what's your problem? So he calls him back. He said, why did you come here and then you turn? He said, yeah, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I came to complain to you about my wife. She nags so much. But when I came, I found that you are in a worse situation than me. So I left. And he said something really beautiful. He said, you know our wives, my wife, what she does for me? She washes my clothes, she cooks my food, she cares for my children, she feeds my children, and all of this she does, even though I should really give her a servant to help her with all of those things, but she doesn't ask me. All those rights that she gives to me, can't I just put up with this from her? Subhanallah. But you know, most of us think that the things that our wives do for us, it's our right. It's our right. The wife should cook, the wife should clean, the wife should this. Actually, if you look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't like that. He used to care for his own things. He used to even fix his own clothes. He would just come to the house, he would ask his family, is there food? If they said no, that's it. He would just be quiet. He would not complain. What there was, he would take. What there isn't, he would be happy with. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You see, but this is people these are the ones who fear Allah. These are the ones who are focused on the akhirah. This is what it means when you have love and compassion and kindness towards each other. These are the manners that have been taught to us through the example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if we don't read and study and learn these things, you see, no wonder we will find there's confusion and chaos and discord in our families and in our houses. What effort do we put into our children to raise them up on the deen? This is where it starts, brothers and sisters. If you want a peaceful society, number one, you look to yourself. Number one, let me start. Let me look am I at peace with myself? If I'm not at peace with myself, what's the problem? What am I worrying about? Where is the stress coming from? Think about the akhirah. Think about Allah. Put everything in that direction. What will Allah say to me? Yes, Allah will ask you, did you provide for your family? Did you care for them? Yes, this is part of Islam. This is ibadah. This is something you get rewarded for putting halal food in the mouth of your children and your wife. Yes. But more than that, ask yourself, what am I spending my time, my energy on? You know, one scholar, he said, I'm sure you've heard of him, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. He had a beautiful saying. I love this saying. He said, treat work like the toilet. Treat work like the toilet. You go to it when you need it. You go to work when you need to work, like the toilet. But you don't spend your time, hours and hours, sitting on the toilet unnecessarily, do you? I know, maybe you do, I don't know. Maybe you go there to get away from the nagging wife, I don't know. But, you know, but generally you don't. You go to it when you need it. Work is like that. Do the work you need to feed yourself, feed your family. Do that. Then what do? Then you go to the masjid. Then you make dhikr. Then you give dawah. Then you learn deen. Then you read Qur'an. Then you sit with your children and teach them and spend time with them, with your family. This is the way of Islam. Not 9 to 5, 5 days a week, week after week after week. That's how we've become. That's how we've become. We've become like those people. We've become like those people. They live to work. They just live to work. No, we work to live. We work as we need to live. But that's not our life. So at the heart of it, brothers, sisters, you look in yourself. Am I at peace? If I'm not, why? Why? What are my worries? What are my concerns? Let me check my aqeedah. What is my belief? Do I know Allah truly? Do I know the deen truly? Because I have found a lot of people who have problems, psychological problems, who have stress, who have depression. When you begin to, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people I have discovered. People who have problems, often they have a wrong or false or corrupt belief. And from that wrong, false and corrupt or mistaken belief comes many problems. So this is very important. Aqeedah, correct belief, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly, to understand the deen properly. It's very important. Look to yourself. Look to your salah. Look to your connection with Allah. Look to your dhikr. Look to your reading of Qur'an. When you pray, brothers and sisters, when you stand for prayer, do you really feel as if you are standing in front of Allah? Do you fear? Do you hope? Do you love? Do you feel that? Or are you just, making movements like the aerobics class? Down 2, 3, 4, up 2. Like that. Is that it? No. The prayer is something that should transform you. You should have khushu'. Do you understand the meaning of what you are saying? Do you know what it means? Surah Al-Fatiha? I wonder how many people know, actually put your hands up, if you know the meaning of tashahhud. At-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyibatu. Who knows what it means? Who can tell me the meaning of it? Hands up. Oh my God. Ya Allah, 3 people? 4? I have to tell you, brothers and sisters, by the way, and 1, 2, 3 sisters at the back. I have to tell you, brothers, by the way. Do you know that it's wajib for you? You know that's haram? You know that you are like drunk people? It is wajib, meaning it's an obligation, the minimum amount of Arabic that every Muslim has to know, you have to know it, is the meaning of what you are saying in your prayer. Is the meaning of what you are, if you are not, it is haram, it's a sin. Does not Allah, why, can anyone tell me why does Allah say, don't approach your prayer in a state of intoxication? Why shouldn't you make salah when you're drunk or intoxicated? What's the reason Allah gives in the Qur'an? Can someone tell me? Yes? I can't hear. Because you don't know what you're saying. That's why, do you know the scholars said? That's why you have to know what you're saying when you make salah. Because khamar has been forbidden, being intoxicated when you pray is forbidden because you might not know what you say. The scholars understood from that, that's why you have to know the meaning of your salah. You must know what you are saying. You might as well be going right? You might as well, if you don't understand. Subhanallah. Okay, that's the first thing. The first thing all of you have to do tonight or tomorrow is you're going to find out what is the meaning of the tashahhud, in fact the whole of the prayer. What does it mean? From takbir to taslim. From takbir, Allahu Akbar, I think we all know what that means, right? I hope we know that. Yeah, to Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And everything in between, that's the first thing you're going to do. You all going to promise me you're going to do that? Yes? Everyone watching. That is the minimum you have to do, inshallah. That's the minimum. You must know that. Do it tomorrow. Don't leave it till next week. Do it step number 1. And then believe me, you will see notice the difference. Notice the difference. Notice how the prayer, and then what you need to do is, now you know the meaning, then you need to start to think and contemplate. Contemplate and think upon the meaning. Think about it deeply. And you see how your prayer will begin to transform. It will not be a burden anymore. It will not be you will start to begin to love your prayer. You will start to begin to enjoy it. Because your prayer will begin to change you. And truly it will begin to bring you closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where you start. Start with yourself. And then after that, you start with your family, with your children, with your wife, with your mum, with your dad, and then your society. Brothers and sisters, it's very important that if we want a peaceful society, and this is something I was told. I was shocked. I've heard that in this city, evil things happen and people just walk straight by. Even a person could be getting stabbed and people just walk straight by. They don't try and stop it. They don't try and prevent it. And that to me is shocking beyond belief. Because one of the most important things in our religion, and one of the things that defines our nation, this nation, is that we enjoin what is right and we forbid what is wrong. We encourage the good and we forbid the evil. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you see an evil, change it with your hand. And if you can't change it with your hand, change it with your tongue. And if you can't change it with your tongue, at least hate it in your heart. But that is the weakest form of faith. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called us the best of nations, raised up for mankind. But Allah made a condition. He said that we are the best of nations raised up for mankind. But then Allah mentioned a condition. Because we enjoin what is right. تَعْمَرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْحَوْنَ إِلَى الْمُنْكَرِ. We enjoin what is good and we forbid what is evil. And we believe in Allah. This is the hallmark of our nation. And as Umar ibn al-Khattab said, if we don't fulfill its conditions, then it doesn't apply to us anymore. It doesn't apply to us. But what society can survive if the people of the society do not try to stop evil, do not try to promote good? If you want to live in a peaceful society, brothers and sisters, every one of you has to take the responsibility individually and collectively, on your own and together, that when you see evil, you try to change it. You change it, you prevent it, you stop it taking place. This is the basics of how human beings live together. The basics. Even the kuffar, they spend so much time and energy and effort teaching people about citizenship, about participating, how to make society work. But this is basic in our deen, basic in our religion. And if we don't do that, we will be destroyed. We will be destroyed. Allah has warned us. The Prophet ﷺ told us, you must enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong, or else Allah will send upon you a calamity, a disaster, and you will make dua, but Allah will not listen to your dua. This is an authentic hadith. You must enjoin the good and forbid the evil, or else Allah will send upon you a calamity. And that could happen in many different ways. That calamity could come in many different ways. And the worst thing, you make dua, but Allah is not going to respond to your supplications. We don't want to find ourselves in that condition. If we want a peaceful society, if we want our societies, our towns, our villages, we want them to be places where we are happy for our children to run in the streets, to play, to all of these things. No, we have to do this. We can't let evil just take place without doing something about it. If that really is your culture, you have to change that culture, because that is evil. That is a path leading to destruction. A sure way to destruction. And I invite you to read the story of the Sabbath breakers. Do you know the story of the Sabbath breakers? Maybe that's, a village that lived by the sea, that took its money from fishing. Could be the Maldives. And there were people in this village, they used to commit sins. They used to do bad things. And because of their sins, because they did haram, Allah sent to them a fitna, a test, a trial, a difficulty. And you know what it was? Really amazing. Every single day when they went out to fish, no fish, nothing, empty. Except one day. One day the fish were jumping out of the water, so many. But that one day was the one day they are not allowed to do any work. Because the Bani Israel are not allowed to work on the Sabbath. And the only day they could find fish was on the Sabbath, which is the one day they were not allowed to fish. So what did they do? Some of these people, they, instead of thinking, look at this sign from Allah, we should make tawbah, we should repent, we should change our ways, we should ask Allah for forgiveness and change the way we are behaving. What did they do? No, instead of doing that, they thought they would play tricks. So they said, okay, what we will do is we will put the nets out the afternoon before the Sabbath, and then straight away after sunset, when the Sabbath is finished, we'll bring the nets in. And we didn't actually work on the Sabbath. We did the work before and after. I thought they were being very clever. Even though, of course, they actually caused fish to be caught on the Sabbath. It's the same thing. So there was a group in this village. And this group, they went to these people and they told them. They told them to fear Allah. They told them, don't disobey the command of Allah. Don't play around with the deen of Allah. Make tawbah to Allah, repent to Allah. Come back to Allah. Don't do these things, haram things. And they were the ones giving dawah. They were the ones enjoining the right and forbidding the wrong. And there was another group. This other group, they were not breaking the Sabbath. No, they went to the synagogue, they went to the masjid. They said their prayers, they did all of their things. But they said to these people giving dawah, why do you bother talking to these people? Allah is going to destroy them. Why are you bothering? And the ones giving dawah, the ones enjoining the right, forbidding the wrong, they said, look, it's our duty to Allah. And maybe they will fear Allah and stop. Well, you know the story. You know how Allah sent upon this village a terrible punishment. He turned them and transformed them into monkeys. This is what He did. This is the humiliating punishment. But Allah mentioned in the Qur'an, in Surah As-Sabah, you can read it. There is only one group that was saved. Only one group was saved. And those were the ones who were enjoining the right and forbidding the wrong. They're the only ones. Allah only mentioned, we rescued those who forbade evil. Those other people, those mind their own business, even though they were not doing haram, it was enough for them to look at that haram and to see that haram and not to stop it. That Allah included them within the punishment. Brothers and sisters, if we want a peaceful society, we all have to contribute to making that society peaceful. We all have to contribute that when we see evil, we try to stop it. And that we try to promote good as much as we possibly can. And that is something that just goes on and on and on. It never stops. Don't think there's an end to it. Don't think I can do it for a few years and then I can relax. No. Put it in your mind that that's what you have to do, and your children have to do, and your children's children have to do. If you want a successful, peaceful society, that is the mentality, that is the attitude, that is the culture that you have to start developing. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide the people of the Maldives, to put them upon the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I myself personally would like to thank the government of the Maldives for facilitating this event here, alhamdulillah, and also the nice police escort that I've been having around, alhamdulillah. And I'd like to thank all of those people working in the police who have been helping us and looking after us. So I would really like to make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses and guides the government of the Maldives to do more righteous things and to do more good things, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show them the benefit and the blessings of this. I would particularly like to thank the Ministry of Islamic Affairs for their efforts in promoting these fantastic events. And of course, I would also, and we must mention, the brothers and the sisters from the Jamiyat al-Salaf who have, alhamdulillah, facilitated this and invited us and made such an effort to organize it and make all of this effort. May Allah, for all of them, may Allah write it down in their book of good deeds. And as for you, my brothers and sisters, whether you took the effort and you took the time to come and sit here, I would like to say for the future, it may be tempting, especially it's very hot in the Maldives, to sit at home in the air conditioning and watch this on TV. There's two reasons I would like you to encourage you in the future to actually turn up and sit in the events. Number one, whoever takes a path seeking knowledge, then Allah will make easy for them the path of paradise. And the angels lay down their wings for a person who takes a path seeking knowledge. Wouldn't you prefer to be walking on the wings of angels? So make an effort to come to these lectures and to sit. The second reason is, alhamdulillah, it's part of our religion to be together. The hand of Allah is over the jama'ah. The hand of Allah is over the gathering, the group. So when we are together, it's something Allah loves. To see us together, to be together. That's why we have salah in the masjid. That's why we have Jum'ah. That's why we have Hajj. So it's a very good thing for the Muslims to come together. And also it creates a beautiful atmosphere when there are more people here. And so I would also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of you, my brothers and sisters, who have come and taken the time to either come here and be present at these lectures, or if you're watching at home on the TV, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still bless all of you. And most importantly, brothers and sisters, knowledge is to be acted upon. Act upon what you have learnt. Remember, there are two things I said, I haven't forgotten, that I asked you to do. Go to a building and imagine the hellfire and the thin bridge. Imagine it. Imagine the sea is the fire, to remind yourself of the reality to come. Secondly, all of us must make an effort to learn the meaning of what we say in our salah. And that's two things I don't want you to delay. I don't want you to think about it. Make a program of change for yourself. Write it down, step 1, step 2. This is how I'm going to make myself a better Muslim, inshallah. I'm going to learn this, then I'm going to do this, then we'll do this with our family. Don't just think, oh, I'm going to change. No, you will never change if you just think, oh, I'm going to change. Break it into steps. Break it into stages. Take practical steps to make that happen. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate us upon the path of goodness. May Allah bless all of you. It's been a real pleasure being here in this beautiful, beautiful country of yours, the Maldives. May Allah bless all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.